Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jonathan Plasek. I am the media director at The Gathering. This time, I am joined by somebody I get to work very closely with, the creative arts pastor, Conor Scholes. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. What does creative arts pastor mean?
That's probably a really fancy word for I work to kind of curate the weekend services. So one of my main roles is to work with the volunteers who are involved in the weekend services, to plan them, and just to be a part of making those happen. And then also just to really, one of the reasons that we changed that title is I wanted to get away from the idea of using worship with being involved with one pastor when worship to me is not just music or just one component. And so we kind of changed it up. And so
that makes sense. I mean, because worship in general, I think we've kind of, again, Americanized it.
Right.
Saying worship is music. And it's like, it's not just music, right?
Exactly.
It's all of the elements.
Yes.
Walk us through what the elements of worship are.
So for us, we believe that in those elements of worship that you're going to pray together, you're going to read scripture together, you're going to study the word, whether that's through preaching or through Bible study together, and you're going to sing together. You're going to give to the church, both monetarily, but also through serving. And so that's all part of worship and the lifestyle.
Yeah, it's what it is, right? I mean, I've talked a lot with the guys today about like just really, truly how the Bible gives you this blueprint here. This is what the church is. And so really it's like, I think America, maybe other places in the world, but we can Americanize things pretty harshly. So like worship has been turned into, well, it's only singing, it's only, band or music time, and it's not necessarily the case.
No.
Tell us about Conor Scholes. So I know we did this in our last interview a couple of years ago, but where did Conor grow up? And tell us a little bit about your family.
So I grew up in a small town called Pratt, Kansas. It's a town of about 6,000, and then around it are 10 to 15 towns that have about 200 or less. Okay. And so I grew up going to a school outside of Pratt called Skyline High School, real small school, graduated in a class of 20.
Awesome.
So I laugh when people are like, yeah, I graduated in a class of, it was pretty small, like 150. And I'm like, yeah, well, my whole high school wasn't that big. So, but
no kidding.
But I definitely grew up in the middle of farm America, and there are definitely parts of me that has never changed.
Yeah. No.
So, but grew up serving in a small local church, First Southern Baptist Church of Pratt, Kansas, and because my dad was a volunteer worship pastor there at the time, minister of music, and so we served there. I learned how to play hymns on piano and organ, and did a little bit of all of that, and so that was a foundational part of me growing up.
Yeah, and so, I mean, Conor, I know this, but explain to the people, because you've taken on some different responsibilities as well this year. Obviously, we've had the transition to Francis' retirement, and now Matthias is in his lead pastor. There have been some responsibilities added to your plate. So what else do you do here at the church?
So one of my responsibilities is pastoral care. So when it comes to folks in crisis or in the hospital or with health issues, different life issues, that's one of the areas I kind of take with. And all of our pastors obviously are going to be involved in pastoral care as well. But that's one of the things I help lead, as well as kind of being a liaison and leader of the prayer ministry. And so we have a vibrant prayer ministry of people that pray every week for requests, as well as the staff does. And so that's one of the things that I help to facilitate and partner with. And so it's been really neat just to see the range both of age and of demographic of our prayer warriors, and how they reach out and pray for requests and follow up and write notes to people and send them to them. And so it's just been a blessing to be part of that as well.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm just not old enough to think about it, but I've essentially gone to two churches in my life. I've gone to First Baptist Church, Pampa, Texas, and I've gone to The Gathering. Like, those are the two places where I've been. And I feel like in both places, writing letters is like an underappreciated thing. Like, and the gathering, we do it really, like, our people do it really well. I'll get like cards and unexpected. It's not my birthday. It's not Christmas. Like, it's just a card to encourage you.
And I think, part of that is just that's a personal touch. When you handwrite a letter, like, it takes time. It takes commitment, and you have to think about what you write. I remember growing up writing thank you notes when I get gifts, which I probably didn't have a great attitude about, but my mom was going to make me do it anyway. And so I can remember thinking, now, how do I say this in a way that is not cheesy, but that conveys gratitude? And we have people that will send us notes or of encouragement or just saying, hey, we're praying for you. And I cannot overstate how big of an impact that is for staff and for families in our churches who receive those as they walk through times of crisis or even in good times, just for encouragement.
Yeah.
So
no, it's beautiful. I mean, and to see kind of the blossoming of you kind of taking on that main role as the care. Like, I mean, just literally, because we work together closely. Like, Conor and I both lead worship, and it's like, you have visits today. Like, and you have visits, like, it's one of those things where I'm like, I can see where your heart is kind of blossomed to that, right? Like, it's been like an additional, like, your soul is fulfilled in that way.
We're all made differently, and for some people, it's very difficult to walk into a room, into a situation, and be able to just abide and be there.
Yeah,
and it's a skill that you learn. And fortunately, I've had great mentors who have kind of help me to grow in that, but also just knowing my personality, and that helps for me to be able to walk in a room and sit with people in time of grief or in those rough patches and just be able to be there.
Okay, so tell us more about your family. We heard where you grew up, but what about your family? So
I'm married to Elizabeth. We have been married for, doing the math really quickly in my head.
No, it's okay. Take your time. You don't want to mess this number up.
We're about to be married 19 years.
Awesome.
So it's 18 right now. Yeah. And we have 4 children, Caleb, Jack, Betsy, and Hannah. And as of the time of this, they are 15, 13, just turned 7, and 5. Yeah, will be 6. Yeah. So, but so a little bit of a spread there. Yeah. But they keep us hopping. They all have their different interests that they like, from music to soccer to skating around our house on roller skates to
good for the floors
to art. But no, they're wonderful. They keep us young or old, one of the two. I haven't decided yet.
I'm sure it's a combo of both.
Yes.
Right. Having to keep up with it. But I mean, listen, they're like, your family's beautiful. They're great kids too. And your wife obviously serves alongside you at church.
Yes. So I'm extremely blessed with our family, and having a wife that is much more talented and gifted than I am. So,
spoken like a true husband, and that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. Men, take note what he just did. That's a very good thing to remind your wife. Okay, so we've heard about your family. Let's talk a little bit about the gathering, just in general, because we've talked through your responsibilities, but really the staff has kind of been in this teamwork pattern for a long time, which I think is awesome. Can you tell us kind of how everything has worked in that way? Because I think occasionally people just assume, like, we all go to our separate corners and then we come together on Sunday and it works. Like, take us through your process.
I think one of the most important parts of a staff dynamic and a really healthy staff, whether you identify it as a team model or not, is that you support, encourage, and fight for each other. It's really difficult if you're in a staff environment where everyone just does their own thing and stays out of everybody else's way, because you don't have the opportunity for collaboration. And the reality is, and this is partially for me as a creative who likes to collaborate, because I think that a bunch of brains are a lot smarter than one. And so when you operate in that team dynamic where you're supporting each other, where you're coming up with ideas for each other, where you're picking up when someone else has something that they haven't gotten done, that you can see that and get it done and be able to support them in that, that's just something that has been a really healthy dynamic in our staff.
Yeah.
And it's been really important for us to be able to do that because we just help to bear each other's burdens.
Yeah.
As we walk through the weeks and the months and the years, and that has been a blessing to me.
Yeah.
Just to be able to grow in the ministry that I've done over the years in that type of dynamic has been an encouragement. And really, I think it's why you see some of the longevity of our staff.
Yeah.
Because we've grown together. We walk through the mess and we walk through the great times, and we're able to pull together and really ask ourselves, where's God working and how do we join Him there?
Yeah. I think we're at the point where I ask what your hobbies are, because I know you have a few, and I know that since the last time we did these interviews, I think last time we did the interview, you had just gotten done running a crazy amount. Was it 50K?
50K, yeah.
Yeah, so you had just gotten done, or maybe it was just before your race. I can't remember. You guys can go back and watch and comment on this video, but I remember that was like what you were in right there. And so what are you in right now? Still running, doing all that stuff? What are you doing?
So I'm still running. Although the last couple months I haven't run as much.
Sure.
But usually I kind of have training zones, or if I have a race or something, then that helps me focus. Otherwise I'm like, I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I like to run. I do dabble in golf, not quite as much as Jonathan does, but I do dabble in golf here and there. I need to dust my clubs off and make them work again. Yeah. But probably one of the main things, I love to write, especially songwriting. That's one of the things that really fills my cup. And so I journal a lot. And so one of the things that probably in 23 that you will see a little more from is that I'll take some of those songs from the journal and make them happen, whether they're kind of a rough release or a legit release. But yeah, I enjoy writing and composing. And as my boys grow, that's something that I get to include them in a little bit. And so it's kind of fun to see that in the future.
Yeah. Well, and even to see, perspective from their eyes. Right. I mean, I'm sure that's even different, because we probably remember being 15.
Absolutely.
But we're not 15 at this moment.
That's right.
So it's pretty cool. And then you're learning Spanish too.
I am learning Spanish, yes. So the last year I've been meeting about an hour a week with one of our church members, Eric Warren, who's a great guy and very patient. And so I've been slowly accumulating vocabulary, but also just conversational Spanish to where I can interact and understand and be able to have those conversations. So
well, and if you just can't get enough of Conor, you can just come meet him in person.
That's right.
We go back and forth between the Plaza Heights campus and the Nolan Road campus pretty much week to week.
Yep.
So come and meet Conor. I guarantee you it's a smile, it's a handshake. At some point it could be a hug. And your door is always open too.
That's right. And there's always good coffee somewhere. There's always good coffee somewhere.
I didn't actually talk about coffee with you.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
We will get to that.
That might be its own podcast.
I'll have Conor and Matthias come in on 3 cups of coffee, and we'll do an entire podcast at some point. I think that would be enjoyable. And I'll have my energy drink at some point. We'll have a caffeine off. But get to know Conor Scholes. Swing by the Nolan campus. That's where he's primarily officed out of, but he's over here at the Plaza campus too. And then just get to know him. Great human being, and appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
All right, guys. We will see you next time.